Tim Heidecker, High School Album Review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest from Tim Heidecker, singer, songwriter, also actor, comedian, absurdist, comedy legend. I mean, truth be told, I don't like to link Tim's comedy to his music too often, nor does he if you've heard interviews. But honestly, I grew up with the man. I grew up binge watching Tim and Eric's awesome show. Now, for the last 10 years or so, and pretty quietly at first, Tim's been putting out some solo music material. And at first, I was very, casually interested. Like his first album, his Caine-thology album in tribute to Herman Cain. It was certainly an odd one. There were plenty of moments certainly reminiscent of, his very unique brand of comedy. But there were also a few moments here and there that actually made me look at Tim a little differently. And since then, I really feel like the guy's grown with each release. I mean, take a look at In Glendale, for example. There are certainly some goofy, tongue-in-cheek tracks, but there were also some really poignant, very current satires and just a real appreciation for what he was doing all around. It's an actual album, and one that's pretty decent. I had a lot of the same feelings on his Too Dumb for Suicide collection of Donald Trump parodies, but at the time I was kind of middle of the road on Tim's music, at least at the time. Half of the time Tim was putting out some pretty heartfelt, very decent singer-songwriter music, and the other half of the time he was bringing in his sort of off-color humor that was hit and miss. But then we got 2019's What the Broken Hearted Do, and it was his most legitimate and personal release to date. And I did enjoy a handful of tracks there, but I did think that Tim still needed to work on his consistency. I also had a lot of the same feelings on the last album he put out, but leading up to this new album, I kind of felt like Tim had turned a real corner, especially with the singles leading up to this thing. Let's chat about it. This album starts off with Buddy, and right off the bat, this sounds so good. It is such a full thought overall. It's nothing wishy-washy or thrown together. And like I said earlier, Tim, I believe, as a musician, has grown with each release. This is his biggest leap to date. This is a sweet, tender, loving ballad to a past friend of his, and it comes off really heartfelt and emotional. I think it's an awesome single. It's well produced. Tim's vocals have never sounded this good. And as a very nostalgic album like this is, it really sets the tone for what's to come. Then we have Chillin in Alaska. As far as the deep cut goes, come on, forget about it. This is one of the best tracks here. Now, for me, at least from my stance, this is even more of a nostalgic sounding album than it already is, because it is very much so an album packed with nostalgia, but this is the sort of folk rock that I grew up on. Your Harry Nilssons, your Neil Young, your Paul Simon. And listen, these are very simple songs, but I mean that as a compliment in the best way. They are very forward, they are very instantaneous, and the autobiographical nature of a lot of these tracks makes them really hit home. Not only that, but this track is so damn catchy, absurdly catchy. Future is Uncertain is a little bit wonkier. This track takes a turn for the psychedelic, the slacker rock even. I mean, with Mac DeMarco playing some of the instrumentals on this track, and the guy being buddies with Jonathan Rado, did you expect anything less? This is a really good rainy day folk tune. I didn't know Tim had this in him. I didn't know he had this album in him. Most of this thing is him knocking it out of the park. Also, just to, hammer this home, once again, the autobiographical nature of a lot of these tracks really bring the best out in Tim's vocals. Like, they sound so close to home. I've Been Losing, on the other hand, is a very broken down and bluesy ballad. I love Tim's vocals on this track. Not only that, but his entire approach to this track. It's a somber tune for sure, but one that comes off pretty universal. And I want to point out once again, these are very straightforward tracks. They don't need deep dives and hours of analysis and lyric sheets. You can take them in pretty easily. But that's not a slight at all. You can just put this album on and drift off. It's just really nice. Now, I will say this, consistency, it's not Tim's strong point. He still does need to grow a little bit. Take, for example, Get Back Down to Me. This is a bluesier number for sure, but I think it's one of the weaker ones here. I mean, if the dad rock vibes of this album weren't strong already, get a load of this. But it's a little too much for me. It's a little cheesy, and Tim's vocals are easily some of my least favorite of his here. And because of that, the flimsy relic of a mess that this track already is just falls apart. And sadly, it's the finale tracks that really bring me down. Like, What Do We Do With Our Time? This one isn't really for me either. It's one of the stiffer tunes here. It's weird because I feel like listening to this that it's just not coming as easily to Tim for a few minutes, and it's weird because it has a lot of the same formulas as a lot of the rest of the tracks here. But something really doesn't click for me here, nor does it with Kern River. And it's not the worst sin committed here. I do like the very psychedelic, sort of slacker rock tones to it. But as far as songwriting goes, it's a low, and that freaking drum machine, ugh. Outside of that, though, I have no problem saying that this is Tim's best work and his most mature album by far. Punch in the Gut is really good. Once again, I have to commend the storytelling here. This one shows Tim reminiscing about a fight from his childhood. It's a sort of universal theme once again, and I would implore you to check out some of the interviews he's done around this album. A lot of them show him going really even further into depth into these stories, and it's really interesting. And Stupid Kid just hits me so hard. And honestly, tracks like this are a lot more visual than anybody gives them credit for. This dives into Tim's early obsessions with music, which, like I said, hell, even go back and watch Tim and Eric's awesome show. Music has always meant so much to Tim, and we get a little glimpse into that here. There's also something surprisingly, innocent and really tender about this track. Brutally honest as well. I'm very impressed. And Sirens of Titan featuring Kurt Vile, while it took a little while to grow on me, is a really great late album track. Now this has been a very straightforward, stripped down, nothing fancy kind of album, but this track takes a turn for the weird really quick. But it's done very tastefully. Kurt Vile sounds right at home. Once again, it dives very deep into Tim's youth, inspirations, past interests. It also breaks up this album nicely with some hazy synths. I didn't really know I needed that, but it's really nice. This album's a real treat, honestly. I mean, it's nothing groundbreaking, and Tim could still grow a little bit. Consistency is his issue still, but for a short set of tunes that are very straightforward, where the storytelling is on point, and his performances are better than ever, especially his vocals, this is a really nice project. It offers a deep dive into Tim's life. It's a very nostalgic album. It's one that's well produced and well performed, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm feeling a very decent 7 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.